Um, if someone told me that I had to dock my employees' pay when they went to the bathroom or took a meal break, I would say that's outrageous, and I would refuse to do it. If your employer told you that you will get docked when you go to the bathroom or have a meal break, I think you'd be outraged too. Well, that describes what a provision in the House FAA bill does to truck drivers. Let me say it again. That describes what a provision in the FAA bill does to truck drivers. Now, you may wonder, why the heck is a truck driver provision in an aviation bill? Why? The answer is easy, and I know it. We killed that provision in the highway bill, and the Republican House will not give up on their mean-spirited provision. So we killed it in the highway bill because I can tell you, and I have staff here who can vouch for it, it was one of the last issues that was resolved. And I said, there is no way on my watch that that is going to happen. I'm here today to shine a spotlight on this provision, which will block states that wish to protect their truck drivers' pay when they take these breaks, and listen to this, even when they load or unload their trucks. So it's not only taking a meal break, taking a bathroom break, but loading and unloading a truck. You get your pay docked. 20 states and 2 territories already have protective laws, which will be overturned by this provision. It is important to note that these state laws and the laws in the 2 territories, it's Guam and Puerto Rico in case you're interested, those protective laws have been upheld by the Supreme Court. By the Supreme Court. But this provision goes beyond the 20 states and 2 territories. It applies to any state in the future that might want to pass these laws. They are all overridden, as we say, preempted. But this is about more than pay. A truck driver who fears their pay will be docked, and knowing human nature as I do, and knowing what a struggle it is to make a living today, most of them will fear their pay being docked. They will wind up suffering from driver fatigue. We know that driver fatigue and distracted driving are significant causes of truck-involved accidents. This terrible anti-safety, anti-worker provision is a poison pill, and it has no place in the FAA bill. It has no place in any bill, for that matter, which is why we killed it in the highway bill. And that is why today I sent a letter to Senate Commerce Committee Thune, his chairman, and Ranking Member Nelson, urging them to block this provision from being included in the Senate's FAA bill. I also sent a separate letter to my Senate colleagues of both parties, asking them to consider writing their own letters of opposition. I am joined in opposition to this provision by numerous groups who have written letters to the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee strongly opposing this provision. I'm going to read you some of the groups that have banded together here. The Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety, Citizens for Reliable and Safe Highways, Parents Against Tired Truckers, the Trauma Foundation, the Truck Safety Coalition, Road Safe America, Public Citizen, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the Transportation Trades Department AFL-CIO, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, and the American Association for Justice. Now, I'm going to close by just reading a couple of sentences from these letters, and we're happy to make these available, plus the list and the letters. The safety advocates and other organizations focused on the highway safety part of this. They noted, quote, driver fatigue is a major and deadly problem within the trucking industry, and this provision is a step backwards. The provision preempts state laws that ensure drivers are afforded needed rest and meal breaks. Then, to emphasize the point that not compensating truck drivers for time spent on, quote, non-driving responsibilities is dangerous, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association wrote, and this is important, the Independent Drivers Association wrote, quote, this unpaid time creates undue pressure, incentivizing drivers to drive farther and farther in order to remain economically viable. When you know you have a family and you got to send the kids to college and you got to pay your bills, your rent, your mortgage, whatever it is, you're going to drive farther and farther, and you're not going to take those breaks because you are getting docked. Unlike every one of you sitting here, unlike me, unlike my staff, this is an attack that is absolutely outrageous. Other labor organizations wrote this. This provision would rob drivers of compensation for work performed other than actual driving and would overturn decades of lawsuits and judgments awarded to drivers because employers knowingly broke the law, and would greatly undermine highway safety by increasing fatigue driving and putting more drivers and motorists at risk. Now, why did I have this conference today? And I know a lot of people are listening by phone or watching the tape here. Nobody wrote about this. Nobody wrote about this. If it happened in your organization, I bet you'd write about it. I don't know whether you knew about it or you just thought it's business as usual. But I'm here to tell you, please, let the American people know what's going on here in the dead of night, in an aviation bill, sticking a completely unrelated provision dealing with truckers in an aviation bill and punishing them and taking away their pay if they have to go to the bathroom. This is not something that the House Republicans should be proud of. So we can't afford to have this provision move forward, and I believe if people know about it, they won't let it move forward. I strongly urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to block this dangerous provision. I know the focus is on 100 other things, and rightly so. Believe me, I get it. We're in an election year. We have the Supreme Court vacancy. So much is going on. I get it. But this is something that we must stop. We must not turn the clock back to a time when workers were treated like robots. They're human beings. They have to eat, they have to go to the bathroom, and when they load a truck, that's work. Anyway, I think you get how I feel about it. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have on this. Yeah. Say your name and who you work for, just for the record. Yes.
We have written about this in
Good.
transportation. My question is, have you talked to your Democratic colleagues? Is there some fear that something similar might be included in the Senate FAA bill? Or
Yeah, I think there's fear. And I stood up in the caucus and I told them about this. They were surprised, my colleagues, that, maybe they didn't read your article. I apologize if it was in there. But it's, it's more than a transportation story, if I could be so bold, because I used to be a writer for a press reporter. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. It's about a full-throated attack on working people, an unconscionable full-throated attack on working people. And it gets beyond. Now, I will tell you, during the highway bill, Chairman Schuster and I had a knock-down, drag-out battle on this. And it almost brought down the bill. I'm being honest. And he knows how I feel. Yeah.
Jonathan Salant from Star Ledger. Who's pushing the bill? Obviously, Schuster will be on the
Schuster.
Who's pushing the bill?
Schuster.
Just him?
Well,
He's not involved?
Oh, of course. It's a special interest provision. You'd have to ask him who asked him to do it. It's a special interest provision. Put money in the pockets of big business. And Schuster is pushing it. And he was pushing it hard in the highway bill. And we stopped it. And little did I dream in my wildest dreams that this nightmare would come back in a completely unrelated bill. It's shameful. Anybody else have questions? Yes, sir. Tell me your name and who you're from.
Mark Jansen from USA Today.
Hi.
I guess more of a technical question.
Sure.
I wonder, does this provision get this piece of the bill into your committee, and do you have any sense
No.
of when the FAA bill might come to Congress?
Well, I've been talking to colleagues. There seems to be two minds. I used to serve on Commerce up until very recently. So I'm going to tell you what I know. I think there are some on the committee who desperately want a bill, and they may or may not put this in it. We don't know. If they did, it would be a totally partisan bill. There are other issues, as you know, such as privatization of air traffic controllers, that also hang over that markup. So I think, I'm just saying, as someone looking as a chairman of another committee into another committee, and having spoken to a few people, my sense is they're evaluating whether they should go to the bill, keep it bipartisan, and not include some of the controversy in it. But here's the point. Once you get into a conference committee, and one body has this as a priority and the other doesn't, what worries me is it will remain in some form or another. And I think there just has to be a major rebellion and revulsion about this provision. Anybody else have questions for me? If not, I thank you so much for coming. And I, as you know, I feel this. You know me pretty well after all these years. And I feel this in my heart and in my gut. And I just think this is wrong for the people of this country. Thank you very much.